Hi, welcome to another episode of I Own a Business, where we focus on helping practice owners grow the practice of their dreams. I'm your host, Dr. Steve Vargo, and I'm really excited to have this conversation with Norm Kester, who is founder of the outdoor lifestyle brand Relevant, which he started in 2019. And one of the questions I think we're going to ponder throughout this is this. Every optometry practice sells glasses, but are you meeting the specific needs of your patient base or clientele? So, Norm, how's it going?
It's going really great, Steve. Thank you.
So, I'm curious first about your background and why you started Relevant. Was this a passion project? Did you recognize an unmet need or perhaps a little of both?
I think it's probably a little of both. Coming from my background, I've been designing coatings. My other company is Quantum Innovations. So we design coatings for everybody. So most of the labs in America use our coatings and our coating designs. And I'd been talking to a lot of the big sunglass providers and a lot of these other guys about trying to provide products for people in a small segment, like a duck hunter, like a turkey hunter, like a fisherman, golfer, that sort of stuff, and design something really specific for a small subset of the population. But this subset of the population is very enthusiastic about the thing that they do, and they spend a lot of money. When you look at the spending for hunters in the United States, they spend $185 million a day. The saltwater fishing industry is 200 and it's $253 billion a year. When you look at freshwater fishing, it's $148 billion a year. These people are enthusiastic, they're passionate. And if there can be, one little thing to make what it is that they love to do better, they're going to do it. And so that those two things together, me being designing a lot of products for other people, being passionate about outdoor, and then there's this huge opportunity that I don't think anybody has taken advantage of. And so that kind of culminated into starting this business.
Yeah, that's a real interesting point. The level of enthusiasm that people have for the product and they're willing to spend on it. I've got two kids in travel sports and I feel like I've personally spent about 250 billion on them, on bats
Yeah.
and travel leagues and all this other stuff. But you're
Yeah.
right. It's
Mhm.
almost like there's no limit to what people are willing to spend on these things. They're very passionate and enthusiastic. Can you give us an overview of your products for people that aren't familiar with your company, Relevant? Give us an overview of your products and what makes them ideal for these outdoor activities, like you mentioned, like fishing and hunting.
Yeah, so the very first product we came up with was a duck hunting product. So when a duck hunter is sitting in the blind, any movement of the duck hunter will cause the bird to fly away. They call it flaring a bird or lighthousing a bird. So the what a lot of hunters don't know and don't understand very well is the optics of the duck. A duck can see perfectly in the UV. So they use it to find mates. They also use it to prevent getting attacked or eaten. So they use it as a defense mechanism. So what I did was designed a coating to go on a pair of sunglass lenses to make sure that there's no UV reflecting back to the bird. So now a hunter can sit in the blind, either using regular eyeglasses or using sunglasses, and sit comfortably in the duck blind and shoot ducks. And then right after that, turkey did the same thing, and then went for whitetail deer, and then on to fishing. So what I did was I wanted to combine a lens that had the very best optical clarity and still had something that was highly impact resistant. So I chose Trivex. So it has a really high Abbey value. Has Z87. Then I could go off of that and build a base. So then I put a polarizer together with a photochromic. So that way I can get the user's eye in a mesopic vision state and allow the pupil to open up to allow it. It almost appears, this is the thing that people say as soon as they put them on, like, oh, I think it's brighter now with the sunglasses on than it was with them off, because I'm giving them more information. More light is going through to their eye than a traditional pair of sunglasses. the last thing that we're doing is we're working very hard to make sure that anybody who wears these glasses can see all their electronics. So a lot of fishermen now are using forward-facing sonar, or at least they're using fish finders and depth finders and all this stuff. So a typical pro or guide on a boat has a plethora of monitors all around them now. And so we want them to be able to see their screens all the time. And one thing that we didn't even think about when we were originally designing these is farmers. Farmers now are in combines and in plows that are all digitally controlled, and they have to be able to see their screens, and they need a comfortable viewing experience and still be able to see their screens. So that's another avenue that we didn't see initially, where our population is buying these glasses, because we call it screen view technology, so it allows them to see their screens while they do it. So kind of gives a little bit of an overview of the products, and trying to create the right contrast experience for the users that are enthusiastic about fly fishing or mountain biking or whatever it is, to give them a great visual experience while they're doing it.
Are most hunters or outdoors people aware that this exists? Are they coming to the doctors for this, or does this require a certain level of education from the doctor? So maybe there's a two-part question. The
Mhm.
part two being is when how do you what questions would you suggest, or how do you broach the subject with somebody to identify if there's somebody who would be a good candidate for these?
Yeah, so there's two parts of this. One is that we're in bait shops as well. So we're in a lot of bait shops. Like here in the Midwest, we're in 70 some bait shops. So the bait shops don't do RX. So they drive the RX to the doctor. And then what we're trying to do is make sure that for every 3 to 5 bait shops, there's a doctor to support those three. So they could create a synergistic relationship and send people back and forth, because the bait shop is only going to sell Plano, and so they'll drive the ECP work from their location. And they may have our tackle. We also design fishing tackle as well, so they may have those different products. But the thing I think that is most important in a doctor's office, when you look at all this opportunity that exists, the more that a doctor's office can align itself to say, hey, we are trying to provide solutions that are for this thing. And the doctor maybe shares that same passion. Maybe it's golf, maybe it's baseball, maybe it's whatever it is. They're going to make their practice at least have some appearance that we tailor to some subset of sport. Remember that the optical industry is 65.6 billion. Each one of the other segments are at least double what the optical industry is as a whole. So I think that the question is, how do we get to understand in that doctor-patient relationship, what is the person enthusiastic about? Not just refract them, but get to understand what they're passionate about, so that we can walk them out, and we can put them in a product that is going to fit their lifestyle, not just solve the optical solution, but how do we get to lifestyle? How do we understand what they're passionate about? How do we understand that, hey, every waking moment, I'm on a mountain bike. I'm climbing something on a two-wheeled bike. I'm doing something, right? So if we can get to where we understand the patient well enough to where we understand what they're enthusiastic about, it could be traveling sports, like what you're talking about. Like, what traveling sport? Traveling sport could be a lot of things. Could be basketball, could be soccer, could be softball, baseball. There's a lot of things. And once you do understand that, you can have a solution that is tailored specifically to that opportunity. And there, I think it flips the script, where if you understand what they're enthusiastic about, this isn't second pair of sales, this is the primary sale. And this is a high ticket item too. So you're talking about a high end progressive sunglass, polarized photochromic. You're talking a high dollar ticket here. So this is a very valuable thing. And again, enthusiasts, if they're passionate about it, they don't mind spending the money. And this is not insurance money. This is money. This is what they would consider something discretionary income that they're going to spend in the thing that they're passionate about. And I think when we start to do that, when we really start to understand the enthusiast and what they're enthusiastic about. Everybody has a passion. What is it? Then we start to unlock what these other opportunities are.
When you say it's not the primary sale, can you expand on that? Because that was an interesting point. Because I think a lot of doctors would be looking at this as the secondary sale, but maybe that's flipped around, meaning that the patient comes in not maybe knowing that these other options exist and just looking to get their, insurance covered pair of glasses. And it's an area that a lot of as you know, a lot of doctors struggle with is
Mhm.
get more second pair sales, third pair sales maybe, but not being able to get it. Is your view that the level of excitement would be there that they would now see these as the pair that they want to get, and maybe the everyday pair, whatever we want to call them, becomes sort of secondary to the patient?
Yeah, and I think that that's the big aha moment. I think as I've traveled around the country and I'm talking to doctors. I just had a dinner with some doctors out in Portland, and I was talking about these statistics. And if you look into every category, like baseball trap shooting, like we just had a big trap shooting event here. It's for high school kids, and the money that's spent in trap shooting is staggering. um, but I think that the opportunity is once you create where you really understand your patient, you understand what they're enthusiastic about, and they're coming there for that product because you can deliver them something that's going to help them catch more fish or to shoot more birds or to be able to wear sunglasses in a turkey blind. They've never been able to do that before. So you give them that opportunity. They come to your practice for that opportunity, and then you create a lifelong relationship with that patient and that patient's kids, siblings, whatever. So you're creating an opportunity there because they know that you're providing them what they're enthusiastic about, and they're going to continue to go. People create long-term relationships already with the sporting store that they go to, and where they know that they can get their correct product, or they can get, there's one archery shop that I go to. I travel an hour and a half to that archery shop because all the people that are in that archery shop, they all hunt. They're all professionals. They know exactly what you need at all parts of the journey of becoming an archer. So they start you out. They don't put you in a $5,000 bow setup. They put you in an $800 bow setup because they know that that's not the right tool for the job and where you are. So so now I'm in my third boat with those guys, because they've walked me along that journey. And I'll continue to go back there because I understand that they want to help me to be the best archer that I can be. And that relationship, it's going to take a lot to break that. And I think that that's kind of what we're after is how do we connect with that person? How do we understand what they're enthusiastic about? And if we do create that connection, that's going to be difficult to break. It's going to be a lifelong connection because they know that you're going to help them to be better at what they're passionate about.
This really aligns with something that I try to stress upon doctors, and I do some coaching as well for sales teams. And one thing I'm constantly trying to impress upon these teams is that people are going to be much more passionate about their problems than they are your product. And I think that's one of the struggles with sales in general is a lot of salespeople, they lead with the product, but the product is just a solution to a problem. But if you can really identify the problem, and it's especially if it's something that you keep mentioning the word enthusiastic about, and you said something, I don't remember what you're referring to, but you said that it's something that they've never been able to do. You were talking about hunting or fishing
Yeah.
or something, but if you can
Yep.
solve that problem, then the product comes in. So it's a way to identify something that's really important to the other person. Where I think a lot of doctors, ODs, feel like they spend a lot of time talking about products, but it's not necessarily something that solves a pressing problem for the patient. Where this is different, right?
Correct. Yeah, and I think what you're saying is exactly correct. I mean, we've got to understand what is the problem statement. If we understand the problem statement, then we have a whole bunch of products that can come to bear on solving the problem. And the thing I was talking about is being in a turkey blind, and you can't wear glasses in a turkey blind.
Hmm.
People know that. because the bird will not come. You cannot shoot him. It will not happen for you. And so that's why when you put a product on their face where they can do this, it's just a game changer. The number of people, like we just did a big event on Devil's Lake in North Dakota, and the number of people that have never seen a fish come across the water and hit their bait, it just never has happened. And they're wearing good glasses. It's not like they're not wearing good glasses. I'm not going to name any of the names. They're wearing good glasses, but they have not been able to see into the water and have that kind of clarity and have that kind of vision to see that happen. And we hear this time and time and time again where we're solving a problem for them, and they've got such a great visual experience because we solved one problem. They didn't know we were going to solve all these other things, and so we solved one problem. They want to be able to see their screen while they're fishing. Now they can see their screen, and oh my gosh, I just saw a muskie come and hit my bait from 40 yards. I picked him up. I never in my life. This guy had been fishing for he was 60 years old, so he'd been fishing for 45, 50 years and never seen that happen. And it's just amazing when you give people that experience. And this is how you meet the enthusiast with the technology, and you just create that passion. And then they're just going to come back and they're going to tell everybody. They'll become evangelists for your practice and your product. And that's what you want ultimately.
And if you mentioned before the doctor might have an interest in this as well. And I'll bet there is a lot of doctors that gravitate toward a product like this who are interested. I hear it coming through, in your voice, the passion that you have for outdoor activities. What a great way to connect with a patient right off the bat without even getting into the sales or product or anything, but when you identify something you have in common, another doctor told me once he spends every exam spends the first 2 minutes just making friendly conversation before he gets into anything. But if you've got something, a common interest that you can connect over, and that leads into a broader conversation about something you can help them with, I think you've really got something going for you. Um, Tell me about marketing. How did doctors who offer this solution market it? Is it external? Is it more internal? Is it just the conversations? I know you said that these are sold at some bait shops and places like that, and that, you know, drives people toward an ECP, but is there anything else you'd recommend? And I'm almost thinking like, does the practice work on building a brand for these type of glasses?
I think so. I mean, to me, I would be telling people that, hey, I have products that are for this particular whatever it is, whatever you're enthusiastic about, or who you want to track in your demographics. All the statistics are out there and available, like hunters in your region, fishermen in your region, how many licensed people there are. There's all these different things. It doesn't matter what it is. There are statistics that are available in the area, and whatever you want to put out there, you can. Social media is a very good tool nowadays to be able to use because you could speak specifically to a subset, and you can just hit them via Facebook or Instagram or however you want to put it out there. But also in the practice, just having stuff, whether it's on the door or it's a dispensing mat, or having stuff that speaks to whatever it is that people are enthusiastic about, and having an area like what we're trying to do with a lot of our displays is get away from traditional displays and have things that are made of wood and speak to the audience that we're trying to speak to. And I think anytime that you do those types of things, it's going to work really well. And I think you see some of the brands that have been around for a while, and I don't know if we could say like Maui Jim or Costa, where they really spoke to their audience. You look at the displays with that corrugated metal roof on the Costa. They're speaking directly to their audience, and I think that that's something that you have to do instead of just having a whole bunch of frames on a board, and just not speaking to anybody. It's just a generic approach, and I think that if you can speak to people in that dispensing area, I think that it's going to pay dividends. So I think you gotta have that outward approach via social media and all that sort of stuff. You got to get people in. Got to we as relevant have to connect the bait shops and the doctor's office together so that we can drive business back and forth. And then, then we've got to have stuff in the practice that is showing that, hey, I am enthusiastic about this. It can be as simple as paintings or artwork, and things that are going to resonate with that practice. And some do this really, really well. I've been in several now around the country that, you could tell when you walk in, like, oh, okay, that this person is passionate about maybe waterfowl or something like that. So,
Years ago, I was working with another consultant, and one of the members we had, he wanted to put I think it was a moose head in his practice. And the other consultant thought it just sounded like the most ridiculous thing because he said, I've never seen a moose head in optometry practice. And this was several years ago. But even back then, I was thinking, but is that a bad thing, to differentiate yourself like that? And the other OD's point was we have a lot of outdoors people that come in, a lot of
mhm.
hunters, a lot of people who fish, and it was good for that market. And looking back, I think he was onto something. If that
Yes.
used the word generic, not being generic, not being cookie cutter. And that's what I meant when I asked before, like, should you, maybe a doctor consider building a brand around this? I think it's important that you latch on to something that people recognize you for, not just another OD in town, but whatever it is. Maybe your thing is myopia management. Maybe it's dry eye, but maybe it's something like this as well. Maybe when someone says, where should I go for eyewear? For outdoors type activities, I fish, I hunt, you want them to think of you. That's what a brand is all about. So I think there's a very interesting opportunity, especially if it aligns with your own interests. And we've got a lot of
Yeah.
ODs that fish, that hunt, that golf, that ski. I mean, if that's something you're passionate about, I think that's going to come out as well. And that's where I want to ask the next question is on the staff. Let's assume you're a doctor that's passionate about this. They're speaking the same way that you're speaking now about it. But you know what, Norm? Not every optician has a passion for hunting. Not every doctor's tech has a passion for fishing and golf. What kind of training? Because I think some doctors might be wondering, okay, this is something I'm into. I think my patients would be into it, but I want the whole team to sort of be able to represent this vibe. Should that be
Mhm.
something that they try to impress upon the staff as well?
I think so, and that's why we come in. One of the things that we always want to do is come in and try to teach the staff why is this product unique? Why is this product different? Our the location that sells more of our glasses than anybody else. I think they're selling they're averaging 2.5 pair of glasses a day right now. Right, they're in I forget if they're in Florida, Mississippi, out they're somewhere in the southeast. And what they have is they have a fish finder screen that's right next to the glasses, and they have all the other brands that are there. They sell all sorts of glasses, right? So then they just say, "Oh, you like those? Oh, can you see that screen? No. Well, how about these? Oh, okay, there's a differentiation point here. But we want to come in and arm the opticians with all of the speak, all of the understanding. They put these on, and they're gonna react right away. They put these glasses on. They're gonna say, "Why is everything brighter?" And you got to be able to answer that question. You got to be able to help them to understand. And this is a photochromic. Our most attractive product is a polarized photochromic. Well, nobody has a high reflection mirror on a photochromic at all. So how is it that we're doing that? How are we able to photo activate a photochromic with a mirror that's over 50% reflection? And why are our mirrors so different looking than other mirrors? And being able to answer these questions are really important. So we want to come in and we want to arm the opticians with the answers to all these questions, teach them about the product. We've got a 18 store ECP chain in the Portland area, and we did a group training, but not all the stores could be there. And then we went to all the outlier stores that couldn't attend to make sure that they understood all of the talking points. They were already selling the glasses. Like, we walked into one to do a training, and they'd already sold 2 pair of glasses in their first week, and they had no idea why the people wanted them. They just put them on and said, "I like these. I'll take them," and they didn't understand what it was that differentiated them from the other products that they had. So we want to make sure that we do that very well. And we have an online training platform where we do online via like Zoom or Teams. We do in-person training and we do group training. And that's been very successful for us, regardless of whether it's a bait shop or ECP location.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because the training would be a big aspect of it. As I hear you talk, and the being having an optician especially who can speak with a high degree of competence about the product would make a big deal as well. And I would imagine there's a pretty good word of mouth around this when somebody buys something like this, uses it, has success with it, that they almost want to tell other people, right? When
Hmm.
nobody ever goes out of their way to recommend an average restaurant or an average movie, right? It's
Right.
that thing that exceeds our expectations, that wow factor. And I would imagine that you're sitting on a boat with your buddy fishing, and you've got something on your face that's helping you see in ways you haven't been able to see before doing that activity. That's going to be something you actually want to share with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just did a Fourth of July event here at our office in Minnesota, and so there's a big parade in this town, and so we had a little booth out there, and was well, it was winter, so it was must have been January or February. We gave a pair of our glasses to the UPS driver. Well, that UPS driver is telling everybody about how good these glasses are and how he doesn't have to take them off to do all of his digital work and do all that stuff. He wears them all day long. And all these people came and bought glasses from us on this weekend, or what, it wasn't on the weekend, but Fourth of July, because of the UPS driver. Because he's an evangelist now. He's telling everybody about the product and how good the vision is with these glasses. So that's what you want to create. I mean, that kind of evangelism, if you've connected, if you've got a great product, and you get it in, you get it on some people's faces, they're going to be a passionate evangelist for you.
Well, there you go. So if you got a patient who's a UPS driver, make sure you
Yeah.
hook them up. That's the lesson.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
yeah. So no,
One
I
lesson to pull out of this whole conversation. Give
that's the
glasses to
one.
UPS drivers.
That's the
Yeah,
one. Hey, Norm,
that's the one.
this has been great. Really interesting. A lot of things I didn't know. I like to fish. I like to golf, and I was not aware of a lot of things that you mentioned. And it makes it it almost feels like it makes it fun to talk to patients about this and sell a pair of glasses. It takes us out of the routine, out of the norm. And I think you're really onto something in terms of what you've created, the brand that you've got, and the opportunity there to connect with a huge market. I mean, you're talking about a market that's in the billions. So there's a ton of opportunity there. And like I said, something that, especially if you're the doctor who's into outdoor activities, and a lot of them are, I
Yeah.
think it brings a certain level of joy back into going to work and being able to talk about products that can help other people. That's also aligned with something that you're very passionate about as well. So thanks for sharing with us today.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
Norm, where can people learn more about your company and your brand?
RLVNT.life is where you can go to check out our website. And there's a lot of stuff out there. We're on, of course, all the usual social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all those. So you can see us all over the place. And probably if there's a guide or a pro in your area, they probably are already connected to our stuff. So you can just talk to them. If you're gonna go on a guided fishing trip somewhere or hunting trip somewhere, you're probably gonna run into our product. So talk to those guys and find out why they're passionate about it.
Awesome. All right. Well, I hope we help create some awareness for something that's been out there for a few years, and definitely look into this option. So, thanks again, Norm. Appreciate your time, and thank you for your service as well. You mentioned before that's partly where the company's name came from, was an acronym from partly stemming from your time in the service. So thank you for that. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our podcast wherever you're listening, leave a review, and share it with your friends and colleagues. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And to learn more about iDoc, please visit our website at idoc.net. That's idoc.net. And check out the links in our show notes for some helpful resources for your practice. So see you next time, and keep dreaming big.